coming up, they
Okay, you go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to help you.
You are a huge help, but I have so many of these up right now to talk about. So we're gonna kind of go. Let's skip this. Perfect. All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. You guys talk back. How is everybody today? Great. Yeah, you feeling it? Yeah. So you all have been through a little bit the last few weeks, have you not?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. So I just applaud you for being here, but let me ask you a question. Why are you here? Why are you here this morning? To learn. Other than it's team meeting and you didn't know I was going to be here. I don't know, maybe you did, but to learn. Where did that come from? Thank you. Why is anybody here? Okay, so that's good. Why are you here? What do you want to learn? I want to learn everything. There's a learner. Yes.
I want to know exactly how to get the data quickly, concisely that I need to get, particularly because my area is not Tampa, so I don't really get it.
Okay.
I got to figure it out.
I want to get the data quickly and precisely and be able to have it's done, right?
Right.
Kind of what you're saying.
Be able to share it with your clients that are useful.
I want to be able to share some information with my clients that are useful.
With value.
Absolutely. Why else are you here? So, So, Keller Williams did a study, and it is a study of their top 1% producers in the company, in the entire company. These are the millionaire real estate agents, right? And that means they're making $1 million a year in commission. Do we have an MRE agent in the room?
Not today.
Not today. So that's a big deal. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Does anybody think, yeah, I wouldn't mind being on that list? Now, let's be honest. Not everybody wants to be doing that, right? That may not be your goal, and that's okay. That's totally fine. But here's what they found when they did this research of the top 1%. The top 1% spend 52 days a year in training. 52 days a year in classes, in training, in learning, in finding out how to grow their business, get what they need for their clients, make it a better transaction or whatever it is, 52 days a year. So I applaud you for being here because I think that you're one of the learning type of people that are getting out there and getting involved and doing things. And this is more than a regular team meeting, as was brought up earlier. We're going to kind of dive into the local market. So I just applaud you for doing that and just understand. And if you're not, think about that, right? How many of you go to 52 classes a year? Like, that's a couple people, right? Absolutely. Get a lot out of it. We're going to talk a little bit about just what's happening here in the market. And we've put together some reports. Who's seen these before already? Because I know we've had a few of you that were in a mastermind group. So great. So good, you guys are spread out, so you've seen these before. Some of you, this will be the first time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through some of this as if you are in a presentation, a listing presentation, or in a conversation with a seller. All right, and we're going to actually kind of role play a little bit on what that would look like, what that would sound like. Now I can do that. Usually when I do that portion, it's a full 2-hour class on how to do that, right? Because we go back and forth with dialogue, we answer questions. We can't spend the entire time today doing that because I've got other stuff I want to show you. There are other reports that are included with what we're looking to bring to you and give to you. So I want to make sure you get to at least see everything. And then beyond the listing presentation, how else you can use this information. So we're going to go through a lot of stuff, take some notes if you can. I think it's being recorded. Is that right?
We should. Jennifer, check.
We may be on Zoom, it may be recorded, so you can come,
Let's make
back
sure
and
it's
watch
being
this.
recorded. I think that's really important.
Looks like something's waiting to get.
Yeah, I thought she said, I heard it too when we first started. I heard her hit the button when we first started.
Okay.
I'll just, that's what you need. But you will be-
Well, no, now it's stopped. That's okay. That's what we do. I'll click on it. There we go. Something happened.
Okay, it's being recorded for sure. I just,
Somebody just logged in, and it's being recorded, we have feedback to prove it.
I just can't,
So a couple things that you need to know about these reports, for those of you that haven't seen them or didn't hear them already. These are exclusive. I only build these for Keller Williams market centers that subscribe, period. And the important part of that is it's Keller Williams. No other company or brand has this information. It is proprietary for you and for your views. So just understand that that gives you a competitive advantage in a lot of ways. You see some of this, you're like, wow, this is great, because nobody else has it. So just understand that, which means just kind of protect it in the sense that it's proprietary. You know, you don't want to necessarily post this entire report up on your social media for everybody to see and grab and use, right? But there are portions of it that you definitely want to use in your 33 touch campaigns, in your marketing, maybe on social media, right? Here's what's happening in the market, that kind of thing. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But just understand this is exclusively for your use. None of your competitors will have this.
How often do these reports come out?
That's a good question. How often do these reports come out? They come out monthly. I'm gonna show you what the monthly version looks like. And then quarterly. Our quarterly reports are what we're gonna go through, and that's the listing presentation part or the buyer conversation, however you wanna look at it. Those are the charts that really take the numbers and kind of create a visual to them so that, you know, it just kind of brings them to life. If you've ever sat down with anybody and just gone through a spreadsheet, at some point they're just like, oh, right? Nobody other than me, I love spreadsheets. They're like my favorite. Right? Is anybody else in here just like love the numbers and spreadsheets and like, yeah, it is. So I like that, and then I love the fact that I take that spreadsheet and I create some charts so it brings it to life. And then other people can really visualize it and see it and better understand it. We can communicate it more succinctly. So the data comes directly from the MLS. We're looking at 3 counties, Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough. Those are, of course, most of this, it's all those counties put together, right, in kind of one general information. What we do with these reports and with these numbers is we identify trends in the marketplace that are true across the market and that work to help you better price homes. So I asked you earlier, why are you here today? One of the things I heard yesterday when I was in Atlanta teaching was, I want to be able, I want to be able to price every single listing right the first time. I was like, that's exactly it, right? Well, I mean, think about it. What would your business look like if every single listing you ever took was priced right out of the gate? I'll tell you what would happen. You'd have every single listing sold in about 9 to 10 days. You would never have a failed listing. You would never have to have a price reduction conversation. You'd never have a seller calling you going, what's going on? How come we're not getting any showings? Do you understand what that is, how important that is to price your home properly from the start? It's powerful. So that's what we're trying to do. This whole thing is built around pricing the home correctly from the start. And that brings you so much success when you do that. So we do allow this to be drilled down. We're going to look at some interactive charts where you can drill this down to a specific price range. And you can choose which county, right? So it can be just Pinellas County in this particular price range, or Pasco or Hillsborough in this price range. There is an opportunity after we kind of get this rolling to say, hey, can we break this down into other areas, the city of this or the beaches of this or whatever? And that is an option, and we'll work with leadership and with you all and your input to determine kind of which areas we do. Now, I will say, you can't get down to the neighborhood, you can't get down to a really small little niche market because let's face it, sometimes we have clients that are in this niche market and they think nothing else outside of here matters. The only thing that matters is what's going on right here in my little circle. And if you can't tell me, right, we have them. And that can be a challenge because sometimes there's just not enough data in those little circles to come up with a trend, right? To be able to really identify some of these trends, we need a little bit broader base of information and data. So that's probably enough about the data. I can tell you people, come on, let's just get to the stuff, right? I do have to say one more thing. We go back and we look at expireds, withdrawn, canceled listings. So what's happening right now? People are putting their home temporarily off the market, right? In some cases. That doesn't count as an expired or a withdrawn. Temporary off the market is a different category. So, but we do look at homes that have either expired due to, they ran out of time, home didn't sell. And we look at homes that were withdrawn or canceled. And we look at their total cumulative days on the market for that particular property. So in other words, if it had been on the market previously and it didn't sell, and then a period of time goes by, they put it back on the market, we're going to count the total days on the market for that entire marketing time, from the first listing period and the second listing period. Because that really gives us a better understanding of what the likely outcomes are when you decide to sell if you don't price it correctly. It may not sell. And what does that look like for you? So we identify that and we pull it out. A lot of MLSs will do cumulative days on the market, but they have a stopping point. Sometimes it's 15 days, sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 45 days. If it was listed more than 45 days ago, they don't count it, it starts over, sort of thing. We actually go back as many as 2 years, as much as 2 years, as long as the property hasn't sold between that time period. So we match it up. We also use the highest original list price between the two listings, if there are two listings. So we're looking at the true original list price, not just the most current list price, to really give you that sale to original list price ratio that is true to the market and true to the decisions that a seller's going to make. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You guys on board so far?
Yes.
All right, cool. Again, this is just the Tampa area. We don't really go over national numbers. So there are other services. If you're looking for national numbers, what do you think most of your clients, I'm just sort of leading you right into this, right? Most of your clients are probably going to hear national numbers. Would you agree?
Yes.
So tell me, what are you hearing out there? What are you hearing out there about the market?
Crash, prices are moving.
It's going to crash. Prices are dropping. Prices are going to go down.
Depends about, like, where we're talking to people throughout the country, like.
Yeah, right here. You're having this conversation. What is your seller, your buyer, going to tell you? You ask them. If you knocked on the door and you said, you guys are in bold, right? Well, some of you, how many of you are in bold? Wow, that's pretty good. So you're going to get to a listing presentation. You've been through bold before? Yes, okay. So you come on, you knock on the door, it's 11 o'clock. We had an appointment at 11 o'clock. May I come in? And you say, before we get started, let me just ask you a question. What are you hearing about the market? Just what's your perspective on the market right now? I'm just kind of curious. What's that?
They think homes are not selling.
Nobody's buying.
The homes aren't selling, nobody's buying. Maybe there's some conversation about interest rates.
Election, they think it's not a good time to sell.
Yeah, it's not a good time. I don't know if it's a good time right now. I'm concerned about that. We're not going to wait till after the election. I'm going to wait till next year. Holidays are coming up. But yeah, the hurricane, we don't know how that's going to affect it.
And displace people where they don't live, is that going to do our market, is that going to make the price go up, bring in more buyers?
Yeah. So I would say that one of the very first things when you are sitting down, you're getting ready, right? You have a listing appointment. You are there to have a listing conversation with this seller. They've already said, yeah, we think we're ready to sell, we want to sell, or we're thinking about it, can you come out and walk us through it and help us decide if we should do this now or not, right, or whatever the conversation is. I think it's good to understand where they're starting from, right? Because I think of it as our job is to help them and guide them to where they want to go, right? Which is hopefully for them and for you, it's the closing of the home that they want to sell. And then potentially the purchase of the home where they want to go, or a referral to someone who can help them on the purchase side, right? That's where we want to guide them. It's like a navigation system in my mind. And if you don't know where the starting point is, how can you know, how can you get them to where they want to go? Does that make sense? I think it's important to just understand where they're coming from, where their starting point is with their understanding of the market. Because what I'm getting ready to do is I'm going to show them some serious numbers. They're going to wake them up. That's what's about to happen. And sometimes it's just I want to kind of know what they're thinking. I've also asked the question, so the reason I bought this company is because I used it so much in my listing presentations. I was so excited about these stats and these numbers. It's all I did, by the way. I had a team in Atlanta, and I had moved to Colorado. I would fly back to Atlanta for my listing presentations. I would have 1 week, sometimes 3 to 4 days. I would fly in town, and I would just book all my listing presentations on that 1 week a month. And then all I did is I went in and I had this conversation that I'm getting ready to show you. And then I would leave. And if I decided that I wanted the listing, right, and it made sense for them to sell, then I had people that came in and went over all the marketing, all that stuff, everything that everybody else does. You know what I mean? We have to have leverage. We know the 3 L's, right? Leads, listing, and leverage. I think that still applies today, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is Gary going to change that too? I know he changed both, but you think he's going to change leads, listings, and leverage?
Not like
No. Not likely, right? So we got to lead generate. We got to have a source for that. This can help you with that. Listings, absolutely. And then leverage, it actually is leverage because it's already done for you. If you right now are messing around, going into the MLS and trying to create stats or doing stuff yourself, it's a little cumbersome, it's a little confusing, it's a little hard, and you're not going to get some of this data out. You know that. So leads, listings, and leverage. So anyway, just understand that I've done a lot of these conversations. So I'm going to just share with you kind of how I did it. But what's kind of cool too is some of these charts I'm getting ready to go over with you. I built them because they weren't in existence before I bought the company. I was like, I want to see this. I want to be able to have this conversation, or this was a question that came up that I could have answered with this chart, or this would help me with this. So some of these charts I didn't actually get to use, but I built because of my experience out there on the chart. So each one of our reports, there's a single-family detached report and a attached, I guess, whatever you want to call it, condos, townhomes, and villas. So they are basically the exact same report with different data. I don't know if that makes sense, but you know what I'm saying? So all the page numbers are the same. You find the same data on the same page for each report. So they're somewhat easy to navigate. That also means it's somewhat easy for you to go, this doesn't look right. You realize, oh, I'm looking at the condo one. I want to be, you know what I mean? Because they kind of look the same. So just make sure when you're doing this, you'll see at the top left-hand corner, this one says detached in yellow. It's a little hard to see in that gray there, but it's the single-family detached. That's what we're going to spend most of our time on today. That's where the bulk of our business is. But there is a complete condo version of this as well. These are hyperlinks, which means that once you get to this landing page, a table of contents, and you're familiar with these reports, you may already know, I just want to go to this section. Well, This thing is 79, it's 80 pages long. You can scroll through and find it, you know, and eventually you know where everything is. But it's also easy just to kind of click on it and hit a button and go right to the summary, right? For those that like the bullet points, the high Ds, just give me the bullet points of what happened in the quarter, right? So you just go there, you get the bullet points, you go, okay, now I'm going to dive deeper and learn more about this or this. First 30 days, you'll find out that that's a very important chart. You may want to just go look at the first 30 days. What's happening in the first 30 days of a home going on the market, right? What do we see happening this first 30 days versus in the past? New versus resale. New construction's becoming a bigger and bigger part of our market, right? So we break out new construction and look at it separately and independently because it does factor into some of these numbers. So we look at it separately as well. There's also some financing information. Quarterly comparisons are charts that are already built for you to be able to go out and have a conversation similar to what we're going to go through today, but you're teaching. You're teaching a group of people. You're teaching your homeowners association, you're educating your Chamber of Commerce, Rotary Club, whatever group that you're in. I used to use it for going into corporate America and work with HR departments, and I would do a lunch and learn on what's happening in the real estate market. And the class would be, you know, they would pay for lunch. I didn't have to do anything. The sponsor left the room earlier. I guess he's right. He's one of your vendors that pays for lunch sometimes, right? So I thought, well, you know, I might have. You know, they're like, no, we'll take care of lunch. If you'll come in and teach for us, we'll take care of you, right? HR departments want education for their employees. They tend to do most of the medical field. I work with a lender. I work with an attorney, state attorney, and a CPA, and we had a financial advisor. And we would rotate through, and each one of us had a class. And I would teach this one. Sometimes I would teach the first time home buyer class, but this was my favorite. Those charts are already built, and what's cool about them is it's designed to give them an overview of what's happening in the market and create curiosity to where they want to ask you, like, can you give me some more information about this area or about this? It just leads to that. I actually still have referral business from doing those things, and I haven't done them for 10 years. I still have referral business and a client that I talk to regularly from doing those classes. And then there's county comparisons, where you can see each county, how it compares to the other counties, what's happening in Pinellas versus Pasco versus Hillsborough, and really kind of compare the two. Those are also really good for educating groups of people and just to understand the market better. Speaking of understand the market better, I'm doing a little bit of preaching for it before we get started with this. C's. There's just something about the letter C lately that has really stood out to me. So I don't think anybody's going to use you unless they trust you. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Has anybody ever had a client that didn't trust them? Yeah. No, don't raise your hand. Don't tell. Yeah. But you know, people are genuinely, you kind of build, you have that trust hopefully going in, and trust is something that you can lose along the way, but most people are fairly trusting to begin with. Here's what goes into trust. Two things that I know of. I learned this from Rick a long time ago in a training class. Actually, we were talking about California itself. We have some electric group that are over there now, but it's in a training class there. And he said, trust is made up of two things: character and competency. That's it. If you are a person of good character and you're competent at what you do, you will have trust, and you will earn trust, and you will keep trust. I cannot help you with your character, but part of that class, it's 11 o'clock, we had an appointment at 11 o'clock, may come in, that sets a little bit of who your character is. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it, right? So that's all I can say. But competency is what we're going to be really speaking to today. And that involves you being confident. Is another C. If you are confident about what you're doing and about what you're speaking to, you're going to be more comfortable. And if you're confident and comfortable and you sit down in a chair and you're having a conversation with somebody, they're gonna feel that, right? And they're also gonna feel it if you're not confident and comfortable. If you're not comfortable talking about numbers and stats and market data and charts, right? If that's a little bit scary, if that's a little bit unnerving, it's gonna kind of come across. Hello? I'm sitting here having a conversation with her.
Sorry, I had it on.
Sometimes that happens in listing conversations, right? There's a distraction that comes up. So what I want to do is I want to help you be able to sit down and have a confident and comfortable conversation with somebody, because that leads to a conversion. That's another C. And that conversion leads to a closing. And then I just threw in another one the other day because it's a C too. That's cash. Why are you here today? You're realtors. You want to make money, I hope. I seriously hope. Why do you want to make? Because you want to have the life that you want to live as a result of the business that you get to do. But it all starts with just having confident and comfortable conversations that lead to conversions. That's it. It's just a simple process that we have to do. And that's what all this is designed to do. So I want to talk a little bit about market share. Does anybody use market share statistics and slides in their presentations?
Yes.
Yes. What?
Use,
You use this one.
presentations are not yours.
Not mine, yeah, right, but you have one, right? So what do you speak to in reference to market share? Why does your client care? If I'm sitting down with her, why would she care how much business my company does? Does she care?
Results.
Because you're getting results and you can market the property within the offices, for all the agents.
So you market we can market our property, your property, to all of the agents who have a bigger market share. It gives you a broader opportunity and more coverage, right? That's one area. Here's what I think at the end of the day, the way I would share this is more people trusted Keller Williams to represent them in a transaction than any other brand, period. This isn't drilled down to this little area or this little price range to make us look like we're number one. This is the biggest, levelest playing field we can get. And we have 8.5% market share. The next closest competitor has 6. More people trust us to get the job done than we do. And now just move on. Again, because in my perspective, trust is a big component. You can take pictures of these charts, by the way, it's fine.
I'm gonna put them also on our Facebook group
Yeah,
as I'm gonna upload the files for you, okay? So you'll have all of this data.
and I think eventually they're gonna end up here. I was talking to Amber Lee, and I don't even know where I'm pointing at, but that's what she did earlier. She pointed at something. So I'm hoping, I don't know,
Yeah, it's in our library.
it's in your, yeah, she's gonna put it there, right? These are literally brand new. So that's where you can find it, but you're welcome to take pictures of them. If you like, I got an appointment today, I wanna like, and I heard somebody earlier say, I got an appointment today. So you can use that. So that's the conversation about market share. I call this the American Idol chart. The American Idol chart, if you have a client, and sometimes I would ask, when was the last time you sold a home? What was that experience like for you? Right? Or I will say, do you have any concerns about our current market? Instead of just like, what are you hearing? I might say something like that. It just depends on the person I'm talking to. But I want to gain their perspective because I want to share with them what that really looks like. So here we're looking at since 2014 all the way to today, which is the end of the quarter, September of 2024. The American Idol chart, you remember how there are people who think they can sing? Those are the fun ones, right? And then there are the people who really can sing, and you're like, wow, I didn't expect that to come from that person. Like, whoa, right? They blow you away sometimes. It's really cool. So the gray bars are the people who think they can sing. In the real estate world, those are active listings available, ready to sell, or so they think. The red ones are the ones that actually sell. They get the golden ticket. They're the ones who can sing. Okay? So what do you notice first of all? There's, especially over here, there's a lot of active, there's a lot of people who think they can sing and a few people that can't, right? And that seemed to change during 2021, right? What do you notice about the red ones?
Stable.
Fairly consistent. Fairly consistent through whatever market. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Fairly consistent. It goes up or down seasonally, we know. Across the board, it's fairly consistent. This is a big area. The Tampa area, these 3 counties, there's a lot of real estate here, right? We're not looking at a ghost town coming up, are we? I live in Colorado. I could take you to a ghost town. It used to have 500 people that lived there, and now there's nobody that lives there. We're not gonna have that here, are we? If we do, does it matter? Like, it's over at that point. Who cares? We're not gonna be selling real estate, we're not gonna be doing anything, probably not gonna be alive. Okay, so my point is it's fairly consistent. We don't have to worry about this disappearing folks. It may get more challenging because do you think it was tougher to sell a house? How many people were here in 2014 selling real estate? Was it challenging?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just recovering.
We were just coming out of what was really challenging, right? And some of my markets I'm able to go back. Here it's a little tougher because you're in the last pretty tough to get data from, but nonetheless. What happened in 2021? COVID, and then everybody wanted to have a house, right? Interest rates look at where interest rates are, that's the blue line. Interest rates were about as low as they had ever been. And there was pent-up demand that we could already see in 2019. Rates still went lower. And then they shut the country down, maybe not as much here as other places. But it certainly affected people's desire to own their own place and have their own space, right? So we had this huge demand that showed up all of a sudden, and it swallowed up everything that we had available to be sold. We had less than 1 month. I mean, this down here is less than 1 month of inventory. 2-3 weeks of inventory for like a year and a half. So here's what that feels like. Has anybody ever gone 140 miles an hour in a car before? Raise your hand. Oh my God, seriously? Dude, normally when I ask that question, it's like one person kind of half raises their hand and smirks. Yeah, kind of. You guys were like, yeah, me. Fast drivers down here. Raise your hand again. 140? 1, 2, 3.
But not here.
Not here.
Germany.
On a racetrack, Germany.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. The Autobahn. Here's a perfect example. You gotta know this, right? So, how long can you drive at 140 miles per hour? How consistently can you keep that speed up on the
Stay in the
Autobahn?
left lane and nobody's behind you.
Okay, but how long? An hour?
Yeah,
2 hours?
depends on what distance.
How much
cities
gas
are
are
The
going.
distance, right? But can you imagine? Let's just say you did that for 4 or 5 hours straight.
I don't think I can do it that long.
You might run out of gas.
Right.
Right? But let's just say you did, because here's what this looks like. This market right here, for us as realtors, for our buyers and sellers, this was a 140 mile an hour market for like 4 or 5 hours in comparison, right? It was a year and a half of 140 miles an hour. That's a long time. So what happens when you see a cop and you're going that
Slow
fast?
down.
Now, maybe not on the Autobahn because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But anywhere else, not on the racetrack. But let's just say you're going 110, 120. You're not close to 100. Some of you did 100 today on the way here. I know it. So what do we do? Yeah, we decelerate here. No, slam on the brakes. Why? We want to control our speed so that we don't get into trouble. Now, from the real estate perspective, we aren't the ones pressing the pedals. We're the ones along for the ride. Okay? Somebody else is pressing the pedals, and they press the pedals to slow us down. On purpose, we're going too fast. You can't keep that speed up. It's unsustainable, it's not safe. So when you do that, you're driving 110, 120, 100, whatever, and you slam on the brakes very calmly so that you don't sit on the side of the road. What do you slow down to? The posted speed limit? Would anybody? I disagree. I think you slow down to about 5 or 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. Because you don't want to appear that like, yeah, right, I'm not that good.
You don't want to go slower than traffic.
Do you press the brakes all the way to stop?
No.
No, you definitely don't do that. So, but then what does it feel like? After you've been going that speed for that period of time,
Chugging along.
it feels like I will eventually get there. But this is really pain. Right? You're going so slow. And guess what? It's the speed limit. It's the posted speed limit, or 5 to 10 miles an hour over. That's a healthy speed. So what's our perspective from real estate right now? What is everybody saying? It's slower. My prices are gonna go down. Market, Y'all, just kind of going speed, and actually a little over.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I want to make sure you get out of this chart. There's a lot of stuff here. Are you going to have time to do that with a seller? Probably not. Does it help you feel more comfortable and confident to go in and have a conversation with a seller who's a little doom and gloom right now, who's a little not quite sure what's going on? Does it help you have a better perspective and go, you know what, maybe we're not in as bad a place as I think? Now here's the deal. You're going to see some numbers here in a little while that show there are some sectors of the market that moved into a buyer's market, particularly in the condo market, in some price ranges. What does that mean? Well, we'll talk about that. So that's what we see, right? Inventories come back up. We're still just a little over 3 months of inventory. What does that mean? What does 3.5 months of inventory mean?
Seller's market.
Everybody say it again.
Seller's market.
I like that, right? Do you believe that though?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. For some of us, it doesn't feel like that, right? Especially if you started since 2021. Raise your hand. I got licensed since 2021. It's okay. We're not picking on you. I know there's a couple people because you said you were brand new.
Oh,
It's been
Right.
licensed since 2021.
I got my real estate
You got your
license since
After
2021.
2021?
After 2021.
After 2021. Okay, so your perspective is only from here forward. Meaning you don't really know what it feels like to go the speed limit in real estate yet. Okay? And that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just this visualizes so that you can see, hey, where we are, it's really not that bad compared to where we were for so many years, and so many people did so well, and so many people bought homes and they made money, and they had investments and so on and so forth. So that's where we are, 3 point so months of inventory. If you were to go through this with a client, I would just speak to the fact of, when did you last purchase? What was it like for you? What are your hesitations or concerns about where we are today? Okay, just find out where they were, where they come from. Because here's what I know. Sellers usually think in terms of the past. Sellers usually think in terms of the past. And buyers usually think, I don't know what they think. Truth, right? No, buyers usually think in terms of the future. They're usually thinking about the future. So that's what this chart does for us. It's kind of a big chart, the American Idol chart.
I have a question.
Yes, good. I love questions.
What is the black line?
The black line is our months of supply.
Okay.
So months of supply that green line in the middle indicates if the black line is plotted below that, it is a seller's market, everybody agreed we're in, because the numbers tell us. And if it's plotted above the green line, we are in a buyer's market. Generally speaking, 6 months is kind of an industry standard. It's a broad spectrum standard across the country, somewhere in that range, between 5-6 months. Sometimes I'll put in there between 6 and 7, it's more of a balanced market. Over 7 is clearly a buyer's market in most areas. But that 6 line under that's pretty good to say we're still in a seller's market. Some people like to say 5, particularly if this is kind of all they remember. But the reality is it's a little bit broader than that. These are the 4 basic charts that you need to know. Yes?
What's your website, and do you update these charts? Like, how often do you update them?
So there's no website for you to get this. Because it's proprietary, because it's only subscription-based, you will get it directly from your market center. And you will log in and be able to download these reports. It's a good question. I'm going to kind of feed off of it a little bit. Once you download these reports, you will have 2 versions. You have a PowerPoint version and a PDF version. The PDF version obviously is easy and quick to use. However, it doesn't allow you to use some of the interactive charts and components because it's a flat picture basically. The PowerPoint has embedded spreadsheets into some of the charts that if you have Microsoft Excel and obviously PowerPoint, so you can get open, you will be able to use the interactive charts. So in addition, with the PowerPoint, y'all can take this and use it however you want to use it. If you have your own brand, your own look, your own colors, your logo, you own the PowerPoint. So you can adjust it however you want. You can take Chartmaster information off. You don't have to have my email on the bottom of every page. The reason my email is on the bottom of every page is because I want you to know what it is, and if you have a question, you can email me directly and just say, hey, what about this, what about this, can you help me with this, that kind of thing. So it's there for you. So these are the 4 basic stats that everybody should be familiar with and should understand. So when I'm on that listing conversation, I'm sitting down. One of the things that I'll say after, I might ask, what's your perspective of the market? When was the last time you purchased? Or tell me what you're hearing out there. It doesn't matter what she says in this situation. I just kind of want to understand what it is. And then when she's done, if there's some conversation that needs to happen based on what she said, we'll talk a minute. And then I will say something like, well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to start by sharing with you what's happening in our local market right now. Is that okay? I'd like to start by sharing with you what's happening in our local market right now. Is that okay? What's she gonna say? Nah, I don't wanna. She's gonna say, yeah, that sounds good. And that's okay. And then I might go to the market share slide. Sometimes I would start there, sometimes I would just gloss over and say, listen, I just want you to know more people trust intelligence than any other real estate brand to get the job done with them. Just means that we're doing what we do at a high level and more people are seeing that, and that's a big deal to them. And then, I know you said you purchased a home here. I might go into the American Idol check. And then I'll come here and I'll say something like, these are the 4 basic metrics that really everybody should know. And I know you said you've interviewed another agent or you've got another, whatever, maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. But if there's another agent, here's what hopefully anybody who's meeting with you will at least have this to share with you. And then I'll go through the numbers. So I'll just kind of point it out to them. Our median price is $425,000. That's down 1.1% from where it was a year ago. This is the third quarter of 2024 versus the third quarter of 2023. Single-family detached homes. $425,000 is down 1.1%. Year-to-date sales through the year are down 4.5%. What's interesting about that is that we're tracking just a little below where we were a year ago, all the way throughout that. Negotiations. What can you expect during the negotiation process? Right now, sellers are retaining about 95.9% of what they were originally trying to get. That's 2.1 percentage points lower than it was a year ago. So sellers are having to negotiate a little bit more this year than last year. It's taking about 14 days longer, almost 2 weeks longer to sell this year versus last year. So that's come up with 73% increase. It's still a relatively low number at only 33 days on the market. In your price range, which by the way, tell me, realistically, where do you think you're most likely to end up? That's, you want to find out. So that's part of the dialogue. So what's your price range, you say?
675.
She's going to be $675,000. All right, so in your price range, we just say between 500 and 700, 675, so sort of high into that. Your price range is actually down 8.9%. Now you notice how I immediately started using your price range, because that's what she just told me, and she just told me.
What do
And
you
I-
mean by 8.9% down?
That means 8.9% fewer homes sold this year than last year.
In that price range?
Just in that price range. And here's what I want to say. I'm just going to circle your price range because we only really need to focus on that. That's what matters to you. We don't really care what everybody else is doing. You just want to know, hey, what's going on in my price range? Because they all perform a little bit differently, as you can see. So we're just going to focus on your price range. Question from the side.
So the data that you provide us, and I know you said this at the beginning, it's tri-county or is it?
It's not the area of Tri-County.
So it is the tri. Okay.
Yeah. Do you call it Tri-County?
No.
I didn't think so, but I wasn't sure.
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay area, is that better?
Well, I just wanted, I mean,
No, but so
that's the
seriously,
difference between.
Yeah, it's a
there's
good
difference
thing. I don't want to
between
confuse people. If we should say Tampa Bay area, I can change it. The Pasco is part of these numbers.
That's why I was asking if this is.
Yeah, but you can drill down to just the county. Right now, we're just looking at broad numbers to get an idea of what the market looks like. Right, this isn't a CMA tool. I'm not using this as a CMA. I'm using this to help her understand what's happening in the market. So overall, sales are down in your price range across the area. Our months of supply right now in your price range is 4.2 months of supply. That means it would take 4.2 months to sell everything that's on the market if no new homes came on the market. Okay, that's what that means. The good thing about 4.2 is it's less than 6, which means you're in a seller's market. So those numbers benefit you, generally speaking. If it were over 6 months, and you can see one price range, 7 million, or a million, 2 million plus is 7.4 months. Okay? Percentage of original list price received by sellers. So how much can you expect to receive in your price range this year between, that's 675, between 500 and 700? 96.4% is what the seller list price ratio is, versus 97.6% it was a year ago. You have to negotiate a little bit more in your price range. 35 days on the market in your price range versus 21. And the amount of homes that had to have a price reduction before they went under contract, meaning that they originally priced the house too high. At some point in time, they realized that, they did a price reduction. That was 52% of every seller that put the home on the market.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you?
Yeah.
What's that?
What's the grade
The
bar?
gray bar is last year,
Okay, well,
so that's up 12 percentage points in your price range. We're seeing a pretty big shift with sellers that are a little too aggressive to start with. A nice way to put it, right?
yeah.
Take a picture of this one, right? When they did do a price reduction, in order to get the job done, in your price range, they had to come up with their price 5.2%. They reduced it by 5.2 percentage points as a median number. That's an increase of over 4.7 than it was a year ago. So we're seeing more often price reductions are needed, and the amount of the price reduction is a little higher in your price range. Generally speaking, what do you think she's doing right now in her head? It's a little bit of math. A little bit of math to go, 675, 5%, talking about $32,000, $33,000 price reduction, right?
And that's the list price, that's not the original price to sale price.
That is the original price to the current, to the list price.
Okay.
Yes. That's just to get it priced right to get it under contract. It's a really good question. That's just to get it priced right to get it under contract, 5.2% off the price. The effect that has on your total sale price to original list price, it takes you from 100%, if you priced it correctly, in your price range, you would have gotten 100%. So remember, 50% of the sellers had price reductions. That means almost 50% got it right. The 50% got it right, got 100% of what they were asking. The 50% that got it wrong, got 92.3% of what they were originally trying to get. She's also doing some math right here too, because 5.2% is smaller than this gap. And that's because there's a penalty when you wait and you don't price it right to start with. Would you agree?
Yeah.
We already know this. If you've been in the business a long time, not even really that long, you've done a few sales. You know that if you don't price it right to begin with, you're going to end up selling it for less, and it's going to take you a lot longer. We already know that. And that's what we've been telling people. Now you have the exact numbers to show it to them so they can see it in a visual. So that they can have a different feeling going through when they're, how serious is it? How important is it for me to price my house correctly? I don't care. I don't need the money. I don't need to sell. I'm not in a hurry. How many times have we heard that? And then what happens 3 months down the road? What are you doing? How come it's not selling? How, right? Tone totally changes. All of a sudden they're like super eager to get the job done. What happened to I don't care, it doesn't matter, I'm not in a hurry. So that's a big difference. Part of the reason it's a big difference is because it takes a lot longer. 50%, right, we talked about that a minute ago, that got it right, sold it in a median of 9 days. What did I tell you earlier? Price your home, if you priced every single property correctly from the start, you'd be selling a house under 9 to 10 days. Unless you're just only focused on $2 million homes, I'm sorry, it's gonna take 18. Oops, a little longer for a $2 million listing. 18 days versus 151. In her price range, it's 9 days versus 76 days in the market. So here's what that looks like. You have 8,908 closings that occurred during the third quarter. 95.9% was their original list price to sales price ratio, 33 days on the market. Those are the basic numbers of the market. That's what the market tells us. That's where most people stop. You all now know that you can get there one of two ways. You can either price it correctly or it can be overpriced. If it's priced correctly, that's 47.6% of the market, 4,244 sellers experienced that, and the majority of them ended up actually in the market. 4,007 sellers closed, that's 45% of the market, and they got 100% of what they were trying to get, and they did it in a median of 8 days. That sounds pretty good, right? That sounds really good. What doesn't sound so good is over here, worst case scenario, because now we've introduced another layer. It's called previously listed. Because some sellers put their home on the market and it didn't sell. And then after a period of time, all right, let's do it again and see what happens, right? They put it on the market, maybe at a different price, and it sold. 22.4% of all the sellers that closed in the third quarter, that's almost 2,000 sellers, fell into that category. They had been on the market previously. They ended up getting 88.8% of what they were originally trying to get and 137 total days on the market. Okay? My job is, remember I was telling you earlier, to be a guide. My job is to help you get to this box. I call this my game board because you're going to choose where you're going to put your keys. And I want us to put our keys on the green box because I think that that's ultimately where you want to end up, not necessarily over here. Do you agree? Yeah. Right? It's just like, yeah, of course, I'm going to know over here. Sometimes by the time I get to this point, I would literally have a seller say, okay, I get it. What do we need to do? I get it. Jeremy, I know how important price is. You can stop now. I mean, because I want to make sure that this crystal clear goes. So when we look at the failed listings, I just want you to understand that in your price range, 34.1% of all the sellers that decided to put their home on the market actually didn't sell at all. So I have a question for you. What would happen if your home didn't sell? Yeah, that's what you hear.
Happy.
That's what you hear. Why did you bring that up? Right? It's this, I take a breath, I take a release, like, I don't know. It's a, if they're serious about it, I don't know. It's not an option. But if they're not serious about it, what do you likely to hear? I don't know. We'll just wait, do it later. I don't really need to
Yeah,
sell.
it's okay.
Who cares? I'll just sit on it. I'll just keep it. You might have a lot of sellers that feel that way. Don't you think you kind of want to know that? If you have this conversation now, and you can bring it up later. Hey, remember when we sat down and I asked you, what would happen if your home doesn't sell? If this is not the right price and your home doesn't sell, what is that going to do? It's just a, hey, I'm in this with you. You can decide at that point if you want to take the listing. That's what's really cool about this.
You find their motivation.
You find their motivation. You have a compelling event, a compelling reason. Look at that, 2 million and up, more than half, almost 60% fail. It's a big numbers. So what do you do when you put that all together? So here's what this means. By the way, you can get through this in about 15 minutes. I know it's taking me over an hour, right? But you can get through this in about 15 minutes and you say, so here's what this really means. If there were 100 homes on the market that you're going to be competing with, which I don't think there are 100 homes that you're going to be competing with right now. And if there were 100 homes on the market, it means that, so I would have her interactive chart pulled up for her specific county and her price range. And I'll show you that in a second. 34 failed and 66 sold. Out of the 66 that sold, 35 had price reductions. So if you add the ones that failed, likely because they're overpriced, to the ones that we know are overpriced because they had a price reduction, that means that basically 69 out of 100, let's call it 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10 sellers listings, if you will, right now on the market are likely overpriced. So what I don't want to do is start competing with people that are in it to lose. I want us to end up in the green box. So what I've done is the 3 homes, there's actually 4, that I think are green box listings right now. If you list with me today, list your home with me today, here's who we're going to be competing with. And I would give them the listings with all the pictures. And I would say, so if you tell me, where would you place your home among these so that they make you look good? Because if not, you're going to make them look good and they're going to sell.
You want me to use competitive.
You absolutely have to be competitive.
Well, I still want to see 7,000.
That's okay. Let's look and see, is that the right number? Because if it's not, you just need to know that going in. That's all. Because I'd rather turn you down now and instead of letting you down later.
And I don't want to waste your time or my time. So I'd like to get a price range.
Okay. So tell me, here they are, and she's gonna start flipping through the pictures.
I would say in the middle.
So whatever the middle is. But you pulled up the green box listings, folks. You have pulled up the best looking, best priced, you know this house is gonna sell listing. And if you don't know what those are, you gotta get out there and learn, right? That's your job as a realtor. I don't know if anybody in here has ever had surgery, but I haven't. I wanted my surgeon to be pretty precise. And I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to real estate pricing, you all need to be surgically precise with how you price homes. You need to be surgically precise with how you price homes. So how do you know if it's a green box listing? Well, it hasn't been on the market multiple times. It hasn't had multiple price reductions or a price reduction. And it's only been on the market like a week or 2. And it looks good. I mean, again, you know these properties. These are the best homes on the market right now. These are going to go. These are the green box listings. If you don't want to end up in the red box, don't compete with red box listings. You don't want to be the winner in the losers group. Does that make sense? I got to be competitive with these folks in order to end up over here. Because that 50% that ended up at that other price range, it just doesn't feel good. And multiple listing periods, who wants that? Are you expecting to take a listing and then go out and say, yeah, I'm probably gonna have this one 3 different times? Hopefully I get it, right? No, we wanna get it sold right away. Another way to look at it, if you're priced way above the market or your condition is very poor, we're gonna talk more and more about condition, not us right now, but you know what I'm saying? More people are saying, hey, my house has got some damage, it's got this, it's got that, what are we gonna do with pricing? Those are conversations that you need to have, because if it's in bad condition as it compares to what's available to be purchased at the same price, you're likely to end up out of the market, failing to sell. If it's in okay condition and it's priced okay, you're going to end up chasing the market through price reductions, and maybe you're right around 75 days on the market and a lower sale to list price ratio. 31% of the sellers are actually in the market. They're in good to great condition, and they're priced at or below their current competition. Those are the ones that sell. And they do it in roughly 90 days. Sales with 100% list to sales price ratio. If you get it right out of the gate, you have a really good chance. Actually, your price range, it's 25, more than a quarter of all of the homes sold at or above what they were originally trying to get. So they sold it at or above what they were originally trying to get. New construction versus resale. So this is where we kind of break that out, because people will go, well, how much of that is new construction? How much of that is resale? In this case, 18.1% of all of the ones that sold at or above list price were actually resale homes, not new construction. 7.2%. If it sold at 100% or more, it did so in 6 days. There's your real target, by the way. Because in 6 days, the market's going to tell you if you're priced right. That's what that chart tells us. The 25% of the market sold in a median of 6 days. That's a big enough number to say your house isn't priced right, or it is. You're going to know in 6 days. Seller concessions.
What if they say to you, it's all about price, but we need you?
I understand. So first of all, right, why are you having the conversation with people to begin with? If you want to do this yourself?
Possibly, I can always put them on Zillow.
Yes.
Maybe I just want information from you to make a better choice.
That's totally fine. Hopefully I weeded out this person before I'm having this conversation. then literally what I'll say is that I don't think I'm the right person for it. And I'm just, respectfully, I'm just gonna go on that. I don't want to waste any more of your time. I certainly don't want to waste my time. If you don't feel like you need somebody to help you navigate this, hopefully I presented enough value to you today and lots of information to you that you didn't know before. And if you don't value that, or you just want to take advantage of that, that's totally up to you, but I can tell you right now, we're not matched. That's how I would do it. I'd get up and leave, folks. I'd get up and leave. I don't want to mess with that. You know, she's not going to say that. You are bringing up something that you're putting on something that's not going to happen. I did have one client one time, and really what it boiled down to is 2 of them. They were probably sitting about as far apart as you were, right? And a couple. And I think there was something else going on. You know, sometimes that happens. And they weren't in agreement. And one of them basically said something very similar to that. And I said, I don't think I'm the right person. That's okay. You know, hopefully you've benefited from this conversation. I appreciate your time today, but I'm just going to say that I don't think we're a fit for each other. I wish you the very best. But I got up, I packed up my bag. I don't think it's that one, but it's very similar. And I left. Before I got to the end of the driveway, I got a phone call from the other person. And they said, can you please come back? We need to figure this out. We need your help. I am so sorry. We know you can get the job done. We really need your help. It's just not what we wanted to hear. And I said, I get that. I understand that. But it's not my job to tell you what we want to hear. It's my job to tell you what you need to hear. And what's going to make a difference in you selling this home. For those people, they had actually already tried to sell it before with somebody else. It was just a second go around. So, yeah. I mean, it's okay, right? And that would put you, just put it right back on you. You don't necessarily like that. Seller concessions. What did we talk about earlier? More people are paying seller concessions now. I want to just make sure you understand this is not compensation. This is not buyer agent compensation. Now, for those of you that are trying to sneak it into concession somehow, you're going to end up getting in trouble. Don't do it. The MLS says no, period. But we're tracking this regardless of however it's used, because it is something that we are finding sellers are gaining a competitive advantage. Some of them are finding that if I can somehow buy down the discount or buy the rate down or something, I can help. So in your price range, 43.3% of all the sellers that closed actually also contributed towards concessions or buyer closing costs. Why do I bring that up? Because how many times have you been in a listing conversation, you get to a point where the seller says, the seller says, I'm not paying that. I'm not paying their closing costs. So all I want to do is just have that conversation up front with some actual numbers that show them what 43.3% of every seller is doing and how much they're paying. And in your case, it's a median of $11,000. Is that an important number? Absolutely. I don't want to surprise them, and they don't want to be surprised. First 30 days on the market, here's what happens in the first 30 days on the market. The gray bars are the homes that go under contract on that particular day. So you'll see that between day 3 and 5, that's when most of the sales occur, at 3 to 5 days on the market. And then it starts to slow down a little bit after that. Each day there are fewer homes that go under contract, generally speaking. That sale to list price ratio for the first 6 days, the median of 100%, 7 days, so it's 100%. And then after that, it starts to get a little wonky, whatever you want to call it. That's because the blue lines start to pick up. Those are price reductions that occurred on that day. So in this case, day 5, 21 of the 251 homes that went under contract, 21 of the 251 homes that went under contract, on the 5th day, they were on the market for 5 days, 21 of them had already had a price reduction.
What percentage?
Don't really know by day 5.
Yeah.
You know, probably figure that out. It's a weird chart. We call this the Cheesecake Factory menu chart. You ever been to Cheesecake Factory? You ever seen their menu? It's like 24 pages long. There's so much stuff I could add to this chart, and I have added stuff and I had to take out because it became too much. But really what we're tracking here is this just kind of visualizes that after that 6th or 7th day, it starts to change a little bit. So here's what I'm going to tell you. You may decide to take a listing. Your seller may say, I want to try it at this number for a while. I really want 675. I hear what you're saying, but I just feel it. I feel 675 is the right number. I've got this in my mind, and I've got to try it at this. And I know that this house looks great. Other than maybe that being a little high, this is a green box listing. This is very competitive with the market. It looks good, it's going to show good, it's going to photograph well, this is a desirable area. You know what, I think that I'm willing to do that, but here's what I want to say. We're going to know within 6 or 7 days whether or not that's right. You agree?
Yeah.
So I want us to already understand what are we going to do if that doesn't happen. Okay, so what are we going to price reduce? You already know that the number is about $33,000 is what it took to get the job done. What do you think we need to go on ahead and reduce it to? You tell me, how, if you want to get it sold? Do you understand what's happening here, this conversation? She's just making the decisions. She's already predetermined the price range. That's what I did when I went back into that conversation that I walked out on. We negotiated to have a predetermined price reduction.
I mean, I've always set them up for a price reduction, but I've never predetermined what it would be.
No, in 7 days, we're gonna do it.
Yeah, I knew in 7 days, I would
Yeah.
notify them.
Yeah.
I didn't know the dollar amount of the reduction.
I would already just talk about it. I like to talk about it.
Yeah, but it did not.
Because that dollar amount really incentivizes them to do everything that they're saying they're gonna do between now and when that home goes on the market. How many times have you sat down with a seller and they're like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, I got this person coming in, and then you show up for photos and like, none of that's been done, right? That's, oh no, wait a minute. So you're super incentivized to, man, have that place looking good and ready to go. You want your 675. Quite frankly, I'm incentivized for you to get 675. That's what I'm doing right now, is helping you get as much as possible by making sure that you understand how important it is to be competitive in the marketplace, not only just by pricing it right, but also by being in the right condition. And this incentivizes her to get it in the right condition. Over time, it just continues to go in a bad direction for sellers. So we take that first 30 days, we spread it out to 6 months. We know that 44.9% of everything that's sold in the third quarter sold in the first 30 days. You get to the 6th month, only 3.7% of the market goes under contract in that 6th month. So you're much more likely to get the job done sooner than you are later. And the amount of homes that had a price reduction in the first 30 days, 13.7%. 92.5% of everybody that sold after being on the market for 6 months had to have a price reduction. We already know the outcomes. That means 92% of, if you've got listings that are pushing that number, you know what I mean? You're not in a good space. You've got to make sure you're reducing price risk and hitting the right place. Sale to list price ratio goes from 100% in the first 30 days, median number, down to 89.2%, top right hand corner. Then you have the bullet points, everything that we just talked about. So by the way, I'm probably done with her. She's already signed the papers. We came up with the price. We've listed. For me, I just said, thank you. It was great meeting with you. Now Michael's going to be here in about 5 minutes to go over some marketing stuff with you. Or Michael will meet with you tomorrow. I know we've got that set up. He's going to talk to you about marketing, staging, photography, and everything else that's coming. Whatever you are, you might do that yourself. You may just go into that. But regardless, that's just sort of how I did it. But these are bullet points for you to use as agents. These are, right, we're getting ready to head into the holiday season. Your opportunity to talk to a lot of people in your database and in your networking groups, right? This is the season of gatherings, and you may do that all the time anyway, but these are your talking points. You get these every quarter, you also get them every month. These are the interactive charts. So Hillsborough County, between 500 and 699, that's where you live, right? That's what we were just talking about. I don't know if it is or not, but we just don't have to go in and change it. So in her price range, 774 sellers sold. You really picked the right one at 675. You made this easy. 675. So 774 sellers, 96.6%, 32 days. Remember when I was going over that chart earlier with her? I would go over this one because this is just her price range in just her county. Is that more relevant to her? Okay. So 379 sellers had to have price reductions. 395 priced it correctly from the start. I just go through the same thing that I did earlier. Interactive charts. So basically you have 3 of those categories. Chase the market. There's really only one group of people that are truly in the market. Then I would go through the pricing strategy. Same thing. Hillsborough County for a $675,000 house, you basically have 65 out of 100, somewhere between 6 or 7 out of 10. Here are the 3 or 4 homes that are priced correctly right now. I would call them green box listings. They are the ones that are in it to win it right now. How are you going to position your home against these from a perspective of value, which is price and condition, right? Because they're going to look at the pictures and they're going to say, ooh, they haven't finished this, they got this, their bathroom's been redone, blah, 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 blah. Or mine looks a lot better. All of a sudden, they're not seeing a picture of whatever they have, their brand new roof or their water heater or their special paint. Whatever it is that that they've done, it doesn't show up quite as much in the photos as what it does here. So it just helps. And if she had a number, say she was saying 699, 659. Let's say she said 659, and I really think it should be a 600. This is also an interactive chart. And I just want to make sure she really gets it because she's so focused on that, but I'm not quite sure she really understood it, right? So I actually never had to use this chart, but it is there for you to use, and it's really become much more popular now than when I was selling. One is because I kind of changed it a little bit better. So Hillsborough County, $659,000. If that's the wrong price, the left-hand side of this comes from the worst case scenario, the red box listings. 659, that's 167 actual sellers, by the way. These aren't just hypothetical numbers. These are 167 sellers that actually closed, that priced their home at $659,900 or in that price range. They ended up getting 89.4% of what they were trying to get originally. That's $589,000 sales price, which is 140 after 143 days in the market. If that same listing had been priced at $600,000, 375 sellers experienced that. They got 99.6, which is 597. So even though the original asking price is $60,000 less, the seller actually netted in their pocket $7,649 more, and they did it in 134 fewer days, which is 4.5 months. I don't know anybody who wants to make an extra 5 mortgage payments on a home they don't want. It's okay, you're gonna have carrying costs, but you'd rather make that carrying cost payment on a home you want, not the one you're trying to sell. Here are the carrying costs, you enter those in, and you factor that into it. It's the actual benefit to price it at $600 right now of $21,273. So it's just nodding your head yes. Remember back in the day when I first started, we had carbon copies. You just say, press hard, there's 5 copies. And somebody's smiling, couple of them. That's kind of the mic drop, right? I don't have a mic. But that's the one. It's like, it puts it all together. Some of you are just going, yeah, that just totally makes sense. This is what you can use. You can play with these numbers before you go. You can put in 675, you can put in 625, you can put in numbers. You can just say, well, what if 600 and 600, what does that look like? What if I'm not sure? What if I think they're thinking 700? And sometimes I had an agent in Dallas, Texas, who said, I actually did this on a Zoom with my client before I went on the listing presentation. I was like, wow, there, I hadn't thought of that. She said, I went out and we just did a Zoom and we put in some different numbers so they can see, hey, how sure are you about 675? Let's put 675 in both cases. If 675 is wrong, here's the worst case scenario for you. If 675 is right, here's best case scenario for you. How confident are you at 675? Based on what I just showed you. She didn't say, I don't know, I'm not that confident.
So the right side is 675 if it's the right price, and the left side is 675 if it's the wrong price.
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct. Yeah, that's how she did it. She just put the same price in
right.
both sides. One's the wrong price, one's the right price. If that's the price you want, how confident are you? And if I just showed you the competition, and you clearly don't match up, and you tell me I'm super confident, really?
How so?
I mean, where do you see
Yeah.
this? My street is so much better. I don't know. But anyway, so what do I do here? I'm going to click on this. Well, I got it. All right, y'all, we're going to be finishing up here real quick. You okay? I know a lot of people had to leave. That's okay. What was that? New versus resale. These new construction charts look a little different on purpose. They are designed to, well, first of all, we know that 17.8% of everything that was single-family detached was a new construction property according to MLS. Does every single new construction property get listed in the MLS? No. So is that number likely higher? Yes. But only 17.8% affect the numbers that we are talking about. So even though that number's higher, we do know that new construction performs a little differently. Well, now we're going to see how differently does it perform. The top line of these blocks are new homes. The middle line are resale homes. The bottom line is the total, which are basically the same numbers that we just went through. We looked at the total. So if you're in an area that's competing with new construction, you can kind of look at this. I don't know that you need to show it to a seller or bring it out, but it's there for you to feel comfortable and confident about what you're speaking to. And in this case, we see sales for new construction are actually up 15% over the year before, whereas resale's down 7.3% when the whole market was down 4%. So resale is actually down a little bit more when you factor in new construction's effect. Median days on market, 23 days is lower than it was a year ago for new construction. 35 days for just resale by itself compared to 33, not a big difference. Then you have sale price to original list price ratio, new construction, 98.5%. If you have a buyer that you're going to be taking out showing new homes, is this a pretty good chart to show them what they can expect during negotiations in their price range for a new single-family detached home? By the way, remember I already told you, there's a condo version of this. It's just condos. It looks just the same, it's just condo numbers. 98.5%. 95.9 was the total mix, but it's actually 95.2, just a little bit lower for just single-family detached. It's not new. Percentage of sales with price reductions, 52.9% of everything that is a resale home had a price reduction. Is that surprising to know that almost 50% of all new constructions have price reductions? Yeah. There you go. There's data. Again, you've got buyer information to help them.
That's those that were on MLS.
Those that were on MLS, that's correct. Yeah, yeah, that's all we have access to.
No, it's just.
Yeah, just the ones that are listed in that MLS. But we had that number earlier, exactly how many that was. Price reduction amount, how much negotiations going on with builders that have that home listed in MLS? 3.9% reduction on price. Thank you for playing.
Oh, you're welcome.
You
Thank
did
you.
so good.
Thank you. I hope I wasn't annoying.
Not at all. I know that I don't want to go for a ride with you in a car on the Autobahn. But I bet it was fun. 5.9% for all of what we talked about, but it's actually a little bit more for just resale. So in other words, if you know this when you're going in on the conversation and you're going through the numbers we just went through, knowing that that's actually kind of good, because some of the numbers that we're talking about, if you look at just resale, are actually, there's a little bit more negotiation, a little bit bigger price range, price reduction, a little bit bigger effect, that kind of thing, a little bit fewer homes actually selling at or above list price. So what you were just sharing, just knowing that ahead of time is like, those are actually, if I take out the new construction, which is clearly not, it's actually a little worse than that. Just know that. You don't necessarily have to give that to them because it gets so hard to go through all of this with them, but at least you know months of supply, median sales price, new construction is 430. New construction, resale is 425. Trends over time, we talked about that in the beginning, so just understanding where the market has come from and where it could potentially be heading, what it looks like. So we see sales numbers, the total monthly count of sales that closed is trending down, generally speaking, since 2018. We can see the seasonality of sales show up here. Median sales price, we saw a big increase from 2018 to 2022. Seasonally, it's gone up a little bit, but prices have leveled off a little bit, right? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Most of us think it's a good thing. What do your sellers think? It's a bad thing. Right? What do your buyers think?
Big thing.
Okay. So whoever you show this to is going to feel differently about it. But that's what the market is. That's what's happening right now. We're just tracking it. The blue lines mark the third quarter of where these are. This is the median sale to original list price ratio, where we ended in the third quarter, lower than where we've been and a little lower than where we came from prior to COVID. A little bit more negotiation going on than where we were. You see what I'm talking about? This blue line versus this. That way you can just compare that particular season with the season And then we have that failed listing percentage over time. Since 2021, in the third quarter, we now have 33.6% that failed to sell, which is considerably higher than the last 3 years. So many more sellers are feeling this. I bring this up multiple times because this is the pain threshold. This is where it hurts. This is where it hurts for you. This is where it hurts for them, is to go through multiple listing periods. It's just not fun if you've done it. Financing methods are here. Conventional is down a little bit. Cash is up a little bit. FHA is up a little bit. But these are the actual numbers. We bring this into account sometimes for those people that understand paying buyer closing costs and concessions. Sometimes I'll include this there with them just so they can see what percentage are FHA and VA conventional, where it's more likely that they're going to have closing costs that are going to be asked for. The percentage of cash sales by quarter and the percentage of cash sales by price range. Highly likely, if it's less than $200,000, it's going to be a cash transaction, right? That's your deals most of the time. And if it's over $2 million, there's a lot of money out there. 53.2% of homes sold over $2 million were cash transactions. 3-year quarterly comparisons, these are the ones that you can use to go out and have a conversation with somebody. So it's all the numbers that we just talked about. How many sold quarter over quarter, what the median sales price is in the market, what the seller can expect during negotiations, and how that compares to the last 3 years, how long it's taking to sell this year versus the same quarter of the last 3 years, what percentage of transactions had to have price reduction this third quarter versus the last 3 years' third quarters, what the amount of the transaction of the price reduction was, how much of a reduction was required to get the job done, what effect did that have on the original list price versus the sales price, what effect did that have on the original list price versus the new list price, how much longer did it take to sell if it wasn't priced correctly, and how many homes sold at or above list price this quarter versus the last 3 quarters, or last 3 years. What percentage of some homes require, sellers paid seller concessions and closing costs this quarter versus the last 3 years, and what that a dollar amount was over the last 3 years. You see how that number's gone up from $5,000 to $10,000. It's doubled in 2 years. Distressed sales, these are foreclosures and short sales. Red is a foreclosure, the light gray or the gray is a short sale. Right now, it's not even 1% of the market. It's a foreclosure or a short sale. Some people are thinking, that's coming back. Some people are thinking, I want to buy foreclosures, whatever, but there's not very many of them. It's a very competitive market. You can use this chart or not. It's just there. I just track it because I want to know if it starts to show up again, I want to see it coming, right? Especially if you've been through 2008, 9, and 10 like I did, you want to see it coming. So we track it. County comparisons. All of the stats that we just shared by price range for your listing presentation and by quarter for your education opportunities are also there by county. So the number sold with the 3 different counties, whether that's up or down by county, and then the median price this year versus last year for the 3 counties, and whether that's up or down. If it's green, it's an improvement. If it's red, it's worse for the seller. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's a positive number or a green number. It's just what's the seller's perspective. So we just color code it according to the seller's perspective. If it's green, it's a good thing. If it's red, it's a bad thing. Median days on market are there, but for the 3 counties, list price. So all of the stats that we use are there. You also have an interactive chart where you can put in, well, here, there's only 3 counties, so we have them all here. You don't really have to do anything compared to all combined. And now you can see these are actual just up or down, green is up, red is down, comparisons for the 3 counties and all the key metrics that we look at. So once you understand what's important, right? Well, what do price reductions look like? how many, what's the sale to list price ratio difference, days on market, that kind of thing. All the price reduction information is right there in the middle. Concessions, seller closing costs, failed listings are down here. And you can see overall market, what about Hillsborough, what about Pasco, Pasco's da-da-da. You know, you can see exactly which county is doing what, okay? And then you can also look at just one county compared to the other one. If this one's a little too much, because it's really just this quarter and whether it's up or down. This next chart gives you last year, this year, whether it's up or down, or it's actually positive or negative for the seller. You'll notice one thing that's different about this chart than the other ones, it's not populated with last year active listings because it's available by price range. I couldn't drill down that historic information out of what I had available to me in the MLS. So everything else I could get it, except for this one chart. There's another chart that doesn't have that information yet. As soon as we have a full year's worth of data, we'll be able to break that down by price range. And that is the quarterly report. I'm going to show you another one. He's ready to end. It's almost over, I promise. So we also have a luxury version of this, okay? Anybody here do luxury properties and have a seller who thinks that they're special? They are special.
Just ask.
So you're so special. So we want to make sure that they understand we've built something just for luxury homes. These are homes that are priced at $700,000 or more. It looks a little bit different, but it works the same way that we just went through. You got the information. This is a little bit different chart. This comes out of what our monthly charts look like. I'm going to show you that next, and then we're going to be done. Now we're tracking active listings, under contract, and pending ratio. If that pending ratio is more than 25%, it's a hot market. Okay, if the pending ratio is less than 25%, it's cooling off or it's a cooler market. The lower the number, the lower it is. So you can see by price range, it's really 700 to 850 is the only price range. It's really still a hot market in the luxury arena. But everything is either green or yellow. There's one price range, 6.1 months of inventory in the 2 million plus. Overall, the market's at 4.5% in the luxury, or 4.5 months of inventory. Typically, when I look at this chart, I immediately gravitate towards the middle colors, and then I look over to the far right, because I know that's where the pain is. That's the failed listings, 43.7%, 56% of homes over 2 million. Same numbers we just kind of talked about, but this is just a luxury version. And so you have all of the charts, sales, monthly supply, median sales price, days on market, price reductions, amount of price reduction, the effect of price reductions, seller concessions, concession amount, and cash percentage of luxury transactions, sales that sold above this price. So the main information that you need to go through a 15 to 20 minute conversation about the market with your client on luxury is there.
You said the effect on price reduction, was that in the regular deck too? Okay, I must have missed that topic. I see all your stats about how long it takes something to sell and how many are having price reductions. What I maybe missed along the way is what somebody's could expect to anticipate if they did a price reduction versus if they didn't. Is that what that slide was?
Yes, it's the effect of price reductions, and it's really the main component, right,
Sure.
of what we do. And it's in everything. It's the effect of those price reductions. If you price it right, you get 100%. If you don't, it's like 89 to 92%.
Right.
Right? If you price it right, you sell it in like really 7 to 10 days. If you don't, it's like 137 to 200.
Oh, okay, no, I was thinking more about house has been on the market 30 days and we're trying to have a conversation with them about a reduction.
Yes.
What,
Well, at that point, you're looking at the amount of price reduction, you're looking at how long it's been on the market, and you're just going back. If you have a seller right now that you know, okay, we've already kind of missed it a little bit. What do I got to do? I got to go back and regroup with this person. So I'm going to just go back and say, listen, I was shared some information today that I feel is important that I share with you. I just want you to understand where we are and where we might be fit, where we might need to go. Based on where we are, we know that we're overpriced. If the price was right, it would have sold. We would have known that within the first 6 to 7 days. Because that didn't happen, we know we're overpriced. the people that knew that did a price reduction and got it priced correctly so that it sold, that was a 5.7% or whatever the number is. That's how much they came off the price. So if this person hasn't already done that, then you start with that. Here's where we gotta go. And we need to do it sooner rather than later because that probably should have happened earlier. We know this now, it's very clear. We gotta make it. So that's just where I go with it. Yes.
Do we talk about how many showings we want to have per week with our clients?
Yeah, we're not tracking showing information. It can be available through showing time
Right.
in some cases, but it's really not. We're just tracking the success
Right.
of the showings.
Right.
And looking at the numbers. So the numbers tell us, if you don't, there's some general rule of thumbs,
Yeah,
right?
I say 3 to 5 showings a week. If we don't get that the first week, we're out of luck.
Yeah, if we don't have, 5 showings
Right,
the first weekend,
right,
we're probably at least 5 to
5%.
10,000 or 5% overpriced.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is anybody experiencing weirdness since the hurricane? Because these numbers, 6 days on the market, I think don't matter since we just had 2 hurricanes.
Well, we're gonna look at September right now. So this is September, which included the tail end, or, the tail end of September included Helene. So when we look at just the September numbers, remember this is the Tampa Bay area. I'm gonna change that to Tampa Bay area, which I actually think is cool. Better than Tampa. Is that okay?
Yes.
Everybody okay? I know she likes it, but I wanna make sure y'all like it.
Yeah, we like it.
So we're gonna change it to Tampa Bay area. We track how many new listings came on the market during the month of September, a total of 3,348. The other thing you're gonna notice with the monthly report is we break it into more price ranges. There's actually 17 price ranges. You can get more specific with that exact price range that you're in. We also have the total number of active listings available to be purchased. This is our inventory that we're gonna be competing with. How many homes are in and under contract or pending status? It's any level of under contract. Under contract show, under contract not show, whatever the different levels are. It's anything that's basically not active. That gives us our pending ratio. Overall, the market, 28.5%. That is in relatively hot markets, what we already talked about. So the Tampa Bay area in general is selling at a fairly good clip in the month of September. 28.5% of everything that is available or that hasn't closed is under contract. There were a total of 2,426 closed sales. Median price was 420. We would expect that median price to tail off. Remember, we saw seasonality in median price, it's not a surprise. Median sale to list price ratio, 95.5%. It's a little lower, right? But something we would probably expect somewhat seasonally too. 35 days on the market really isn't that much different from the 33 we were looking at from the entire third quarter. 3.9 months of inventory. The top 4 or 5 price ranges in single-family detached have moved either into a balanced market, that's yellow, or more of a buyer's market, which is kind of the reddish color. Then to the right of that, we have the homes that sold above list price. We still have almost a quarter of everything that sold sell for more than list price. Price reductions, 55.8% of everything that closed in the month of September had a price reduction. If it did not have a price reduction and it was priced correctly, the median number was 100%, still kind of what we saw quarterly. 91.8%, it was the original sales price to list price ratio if the property did have a price reduction, and it's a difference between 9 days. That doesn't change that much. You're gonna find that every quarter it's like 9, 10 days. It doesn't really change that much. 73 days of it is overpriced and 38.7% have failed. Then we go in and we look at just the Tampa Bay area and we look at where we were in August and where we were in September. All the key metrics we compare month over month changes. This is the temperature outside. This is what it feels like right now. From August to September, we had 14.7% fewer available listings to be sold. Inventory actually went down between August and September. New listings rather, active listings went down 3.5%, so it's down to. Pending listings went up. We actually saw more homes go under contract in September than we did in August. Does that surprise you? Yeah. That does surprise me, because it was a surprising thing. Why did that happen? Well, interest rates dropped leading into that. So that's why we saw more pendings. We may have had more pendings had we not seen the leak, right? So closings though, were down 24.9%. When do people mostly close on homes? Generally speaking, what time of the month? The end of the month. What happened at the end of the month of September? Yeah. On Thursday to Friday, right? Big closing days. So that could be an effect. I forget, everybody's kind of asked the question, but that could be one of the interesting as an effect of that. So that may be pushed into October. We'll see what October numbers look like. We're tracking that. Then you can look at last September versus this September. This is more the market shift. These are the market changes. So again, taking fewer listings, but we've got much more inventory. If you're a buyer right now, interest rates are lower, and there's 44.8% more options for you to go out and look at to find the home you want. That pending number is down a little bit, but not that much. Pending ratio, it was much hotter last year because there was less inventory to choose from. So we had 37.6%, but we're still pretty good. Closed listings, we know, have been declining. That's down 17.7%. These are months of supplies up to 3.9, which we all said is still a seller's market. I know you're getting tired. You guys have done so good. I mean, you stuck it out. So remember those 52 days for that top 1%? Y'all are in it. They're not. I'm just kidding. They're fine. I don't want to be mean. I'm just saying. So anyway, you have year over year. This comes out every single month. It doesn't look like the quarterlies. Why? Because it's too much information to come out every single month. To update your listing presentation every single month. You get used to those quarterly numbers. You can have a quarterly conversation. You know what you're looking for. You come to the monthly report, September, and which would be more important, right? When October and November come around, and we're still talking about third quarter, but we're in the month of December, I'm going to say, hey, by the way, if you look at just November's numbers, that number is actually at this now. That number is actually at this now. So you can update your report without having to do a whole new one. Just study the monthly numbers. This looks at seasonality for people that say, well, we're thinking about waiting until, we're going to wait until whatever, right? Spring, fall, summer. Okay, well, here's what it looks like. Here's where we are right now, September. Last year in September, when October showed up, it did this. Then when November showed up, it did this. So we are tracking similarly to 2023. Here's what we might be able to expect as we move through the winter months and into next spring. It's just for those people that understand seasonality. So homes are still selling. There's still new listings being taken. Your sell to list price ratio, all of that stuff. Look at here. Price it right. It doesn't really matter where you are. It's still 9, 10, 11 days. Any market. Middle of winter, middle of summer, spring, fall. Fact. Look at November, December. You're overpriced. It's actually less for price reduced days in the market in the off season. Why? Because it's more competitive in the heat of the market. So do you want to have more competition, or do you want to sell your house, or you know what I mean? What's most important? Usually for a seller, just if it's ready to go, just do it. The market's always there. If it's overpriced or it's not in good condition, it's not going to matter when it is. It's going to be a challenge. But if it's priced right, it doesn't matter when it is, it's going to sell. That's what this tells us seasonality-wise. If you want to track sales versus interest rates, that comes out every month just to see where interest rates are, remind us in visual, and where our sales fell at the end of that month. So this is the interest rate to begin the month, and the sales throughout that month, the sales that we ended with. That's how that works. So 6.35% is what we started September with. Interest rate wise, it came down during the month, then it kind of went back up a little bit. But I think it's still somewhere around that number. I'm not exactly sure. 2,426 homes. key metric talking points come out every single month. So remember the bullet points earlier? This is your ability to have a conversation when somebody says, how's the market? How you doing? How's the market? Here's what you might hear this winter. Your leadership's gonna work with you on how to have this conversation. How are you doing? I heard that nobody's paying commissions anymore. Are you okay? Right? I hear I don't have to pay a commission anymore. I hear that whatever. Because that's what
They are.
the headline doesn't even say that, but that's what they heard. Right? So that's a different conversation. But so how's the market? How's the market? You either love that question or you hate it as an agent. If you are confident and comfortable, you love it. If you're not, you get a little squirt, you just like, well, what am I gonna make up? Oh, it's great, it's good, doing great. Oh, good, that's what everybody says. How you doing? Good. No, you're not. Fantastic. Great. We want to just, how's the market? Well, you have those talking points based on whatever it is. Median price is down just a little bit over where it was a year ago. Total year-to-date sales were tracking just a little lower than we were, 4.9% lower than we were in 2023. Sellers are having to negotiate a little bit more, coming off their price about an additional 2% versus where we were a year ago. It's taking a little bit longer, almost 2 weeks longer to sell. Why you ask? Right? So there you go. Those 4 things, remember those 4 things? All you got to remember. Or you can come in here and say, well, in September, this, in October, this, these numbers are here for you. Hillsborough in September, it's exact, I'm sorry, did you want to go back to that?
Oh, we got it.
You got it? Okay. So Hillsborough just in September, it's the exact same chart we looked at for the Tampa Bay area, only it's just Hillsborough. Hillsborough gets its own 2 pages, just like Pasco gets its own 2 pages, Pinellas gets its own 2 pages. There's a comparison for each one. You also, in this one, a little different than the quarterly, you get to see month-over-month change and year-over-year change for each one of the 3 counties. And then we do a hot or not. This is something you could use for marketing. This is something, or there's a bunch of charts here. This just happens to be hot or not. So it takes the 3 counties that we're focused on, and it looks at some key metrics that kind of go to group together. So in this case, active listings, pending listings, and the pending ratio. For the 3 counties, how hot are the markets in these 3 counties? Basically, how do they compare to one another? Active listings, pending listings, and the pending ratio. You can see the changes there and how one of them may be more competitive than another, how one may be a little hotter than another. That shows up here. Seller's market, buyer's market, or balanced market. You may need to do some explaining to community what that really means. So closed listings, months of supply, days on market. That's how we determine whether we're in a buyer's, seller's, or a balanced market. For each county, here's what we're seeing. Closed sales. See a lot of red. That means they're almost all down. Month over month and year over year. Months of supply is up. All 3 counties. Days on market up. All 3 counties, month over month and year over year. But we're still 3.9 months of inventory in September overall. Pending listings and active listings don't have median price yet for last year, but it is coming. And then 100% club homes that sold at 100% or more, because sellers tend to live in the past. And if they're stuck in 2021 and they're still thinking we're going to get multiple offers and sell for 105%, which is probably not anymore. Are you seeing that much? I think sellers have kind of woke up for that. Price reductions, closed listings, and the reduction amount by the 3 counties, month over month and year over year. So you can use these in your social media posts if you want to. You're getting somewhat technical in some of these, but some of them are not so much. The price reduction effect, all that stuff we were talking about earlier. So if you price it correctly in these 3 counties, and it's not been price reduced rather, really no change. Blue means it's kind of unchanged from where it was last month or last quarter. It's 100%. This is going to stay like this. It may come down a little bit, but it's always going to be a much higher number than you might think. This number is if it's price reduced. Hasn't changed much year over year at the bottom number, but month over month it's a little lower, 91.8%. Still the list price ratio. That's an 8.2% difference. So it shows up every month. You can track it to see how does that relate to the quarter that I'm getting ready to show with my client. So if they closing costs, expired, canceled. Sometimes, so it feels like, right? They're canceled listings, expired, failed listings, basically the percentage of the total and the median price of those. And then that game board or the putting it all together chart where you're kind of sitting down with a seller. This updates it monthly, so you can use the monthly one if you want, or you can just stick with the quarterly one. Based on September numbers, 39 failed, 34 had price reductions, which means, remember earlier we were looking at like 67 or 65 out of 100, now it's 73 out of 100. It's clearly more than 7 out of 10 homes are overpriced in these 3 counties. Only 27 out of 100 were priced correctly, but it's still 9 days and 100% that it's priced right. And that's the monthly report.
That was awesome.
That's it.
What do you think? Helpful?
Yes.
A lot of data, right? Yeah, so I think it would be, I don't know, I had some people send me some messages. What if we get together and just have a mastermind around the numbers and then how to have those conversations with your customers? You were brilliant. That was fantastic. That was
Thank you.
really, really good, yeah. So look for that to come on the calendar. And any questions before we, please?
Yes.
So on one of your first charts where it showed like, so it showed like the active listings and in the red it was like actual sold listings. And it was kind of like a chart.
Yeah.
In a way, do you think it'll kind of continue to?
Yes, we're gonna see inventory continue to rise and the red bars, the sales, the people who didn't see.
Yeah.
They're the ones, that's gonna remain relatively stable. It'll drop off, it's going down seasonally, it always does. Right now, here's what happened. 9 out of the last 11 election cycles, the market increased after the election.
Oh,
9 out of the last 11. That means in the last 44 years, there was only 2 times that the market went down after an election.
You're talking
And
about-
one of those times is 1981. I'm talking about the housing market. The housing market specifically. The number of sales and the prices. In 1981, it went down.
What was that?
That was 18.1% Reagan interest rates,
yeah, interest rates were outrageous, right?
right? We're not there, are we?
No,
Are we going there?
No.
Okay, so that one's off the board. I don't remember what happened in 1988, 89, do you?
it was, I think just with that same market.
It was the same,
85,
it was just, it's
90s.
kind of finalized that market.
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, those of you who have to go, and I know Apple, we have
Yeah.
a meeting, but I think too, we were talking about this, there are a lot of homes that are in the process of being repaired. Would you agree?
Yes.
I mean, we do, we have a lot of homes, depending on where you're selling, right? We also have a delay in new home construction product, right? People are waiting for new homes, okay. So if I'm a seller and I don't have damage and I wasn't affected, what are the probabilities of me selling in 6 days or less? If I'm priced right, much higher, right? So what do you think you should be talking about with your database of people? Like now's the time to sell. If they're looking to sell, now's the time to right now is the time to put their home on the market. Don't wait for January after the election. Let's get it on the market today, and let me tell you why it's to your advantage to do that. Right? So if you think about it, and I also think, it depends on where people want to buy, right? I think our market's gonna continue to be stable.
Yeah, it'll be stable. From a buyer's perspective, 5 years cures anything. 5 years cured our worst downturn in the history of real estate. Other than maybe the Dust Bowl, I don't know what that was like then. But in 2008, 9, and 10, the market went down. 5 years later, it was higher than it was before it went down.
I have a question.
5
Daryl?
years. So if a buyer's good, Zoom, hello.
He's still trying to ask.
A question, on the interactive charts, can we add a field like for, say, HOA fees per month?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, you can't do that, because we don't know if they're accurate. and putting the information in, and sometimes there's a secondary HOA, I
Yeah.
wouldn't do that, I don't think that would be.
That's good to know. Sorry, we cannot add that. We're keeping it as basic as we can, but also as informative as we can, so that the trends really show up with accuracy. I'm even somewhat concerned about seller concessions, and the concession amount, but it's pretty well populated in the MLS now. And so I think it's somewhat accurate. I'm gonna guess that the numbers that we report on that are actually low. I'm gonna guess that more closings had seller concessions than actually reported seller concessions. Would you agree? If anything, they're gonna just like, I'm not filling that out. Right? So it's probably higher. Now, the dollar amount, I don't know, it's a median number, it's a big subsection, it's a big, group, so it's probably wouldn't change that much, but the percentage would probably actually be higher of sellers that are actually paying seller concessions at closing costs.
And concessions would be towards closing costs.
Prepays.
Repairs. Mhm. Yeah, and that may come up, right? We might see some more of that in repairs because of what's happening right now. I will tell you, the buyers, for the most part, they don't want to deal with it. You can go in as a seller and say, well, the buyer says, yeah, they liked it, but it's just a little too much for them to do.
Yeah.
Well, what if we dropped to 20 grand? It's just too much. What if we dropped to 50 grand? Still a little too much. It's just too much work. They don't want to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
Buyers want it done. They really do. The ones that don't want it done want a crazy deal that the seller doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
Yes, question.
It's regarding the homes which are affected during the.
You look like one of my best friends growing up. I mean, like, seriously, I've looked at you a few times and it's just like, God, you look just like Aaron. Anyway.
So my question is the homes which are affected during Hurricane Helene, and the sellers, they are not ready and they are remediating it.
Yes.
Obviously, after the remediation, the price, it's not gonna be like, it's gonna be selling in 6 days' time because it's remediated, so.
It may take time. We may see longer time on market for some of these listings, but what you'll probably find is still the list price ratio could go higher because they're doing work. And if they don't change the price, they're more likely to get a higher number now. And in some cases, we might actually see prices go up. Some sellers that own a home, they're gonna get a bunch of renovation work done. They may say, well, it's better now than it was before, so I'm raising my price. Did you hear that over here? We were talking about, he had a good question. So I will say, one of the things we talked about is we might actually see price increases because of the condition of the home being better than it was before the
Because
change.
just like we saw with Charlie, as it went through the prices, that was the beginning of this market, 2004, right? We had that unrealistic height, so we might see that in certain areas, not in all, right? Not every area was affected, although, we were just talking, she does a lot of business in Sarasota, we might have to talk to Aubrey about adding that to our list, Sarasota, Manatee County. There was damage there, in Ellis County.
Yeah, there's more damage there.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
So the same question, so it will take more time to sell, but will it be justified, sellers saying that the price is hiked because I've done so much of work and